saying that there's a gigantic oil yourself up speedrun community on YouTube, but I'm saying that there is a devoted oil yourself up speedrun community on YouTube.
The seedy underbelly of YouTube.
It hasn't moved to live stream.
Have we
yet.
started? I assume we've started.
So are you a PC gamer out of necessity, or are you a PC gamer because you that's your platform of choice?
A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. I suspect that I got pushed, like I started off as a PC gamer because my mom, we had an Atari and then we stopped, they bought like a bazillion cartridges and we stopped playing with them. And mom was like, you will never own another console. And so I was the only kid who didn't have a Nintendo, but we had a family computer, so I got into PC gaming that way, right?
Yeah.
And so, so from that, I was already kind of PC to begin with, but then when I started going on the road, that was the only time I could play. So out of necessity, I started being like, kind of like PC represent. That's when I got my gang tats, is when I was on the road.
Gotcha.
With my 17-inch laptops.
I never became a PC gamer. Like, I tried a couple times, and I think for me, the barrier of entry, back in the day especially, was cost, right? Like, I could get an NES, I could put birthday money towards a Genesis, but a gaming PC always seemed just a little out of my reach, so it never became my platform of choice.
I was playing stuff like Rayman on PC, which is,
but that's the sort of stuff where back then it was even like multi-platform, right? And I would even argue that if you were going to play the original Rayman, you were probably better off playing it on a Super Nintendo.
I would actually agree with that. Those side scrollers and stuff where you're just sitting out after school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
PC strengths has always been in depth of storytelling, which is why adventure games always did well on PC compared to consoles, and also the type of things that required unique user interfaces. That's why you never would have seen a real-time strategy in a console-only universe.
Yeah.
Like, that was a uniquely PC experience. Same thing with MMOs. MMOs are uniquely PC, although nowadays we have crossover with like DCUO and what's that EVE one where it's like you're on the ground.
EVE, and then
the
it's
Dust.
5.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
And I'm excited for that one. And I think it's kind of cool with DCUO especially, and with all these newer MMOs, that you're seeing them trying to bridge the communities.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and to be honest, I'm down with it in a very elitist kind of way, because the whole EVE Online thing, I'm like, that's right, masterminds be up in the ships on their PCs. Foot soldiers be FPSing it on the ground.
But it's two different types of gamers, and you're right. I think the other thing that never got me into PCs is I've never been like a very in-depth RTS guy.
What?
I just never have been. And I've never been, there was a period of time like in the Super Nintendo era and like the golden age of Squaresoft where I was into RPGs, but I was into kind of like a JRPG.
Yeah, that's like RPG light.
Yeah. I never got into like a Baldur's Gate or a Bard's Tale or things like that. Like I played them, in little bits and pieces when I was over at friends' houses. But I think that genre, once again, like if you didn't play PC games back in the day, you don't have that sort of connection to that genre.
For a PC, and especially, here's the other thing on the high end, and I think you nailed it when you talked about the price point being a big differential, where it's like, if you're 15, it's like you're not gonna get into PC gaming because you're not gonna build up $2,000 or whatever. But if you're 25 and you've been playing an FPS with mouse and keyboard, how can you ever give that up?
Yeah.
Like, have you ever gotten into an FPS with mouse and keyboard?
I mean, like we used to, one of the first things that we had is I lived in the first place that I ever lived on my own. It was me and two guys who wanted to be game designers, and they gave me like their hand-me-down hardware, and we had like a LAN set up for Play 2, and people would come over and plug in, and they would download like all our mods off of our central computer, like off of our central server, and we would just play and play and play. And I cannot argue that the FPS experience is better on a console, other than it might just be easier and more plug and play to just get online and get it running optimally if you're on a console.
I think console games need to be visually pleasing to watch because there are other people on the couch with you. And when it's something that everybody can enjoy, whereas with PC games, it's only for you, and if there's another player or another viewer, that other viewer is probably on another PC miles away from you.
Yeah.
And so I think those are the games that are strongest on the PC.
Okay, so RTS we think
clearly.
PC. First-person shooter, we think PC.
Yep.
What about like third-person action games? What if I'm playing something like a Prototype or an Uncharted or something like that?
See, yeah, I would agree. I would agree that that's a living room kind of experience, mainly because of how cinematic it is.
What about sports?
Oh, that's a natural fit, I think.
Do people play sports games?
I'm not.
Is that? I feel like you might be making that up.
This is John Medine. What does he want from us?
Listen, as a big fan of sports ball, I think this year's Super Basket is the way to go. It's going to be amazing.
You're gonna win all of the rounds.
Oh my gosh.
Each and every last one.
I got a question for you. Here's a middle ground. What about something like Mass Effect? Mass Effect, console or PC?
See,
I played it on console.
I go console on it, but I think you could potentially go either way.
I mean, I played.
It's not a straight up action game. It's not
Right.
a straight
No,
up.
but it's very cinematic.
Yeah, and that's the thing is you were saying like, oh, I feel like consoles naturally lend themselves to more cinematic experiences, but I feel like I could play Mass Effect on either and be just as happy.
I agree. The only thing that I would add to that is that the fact that it kills me that do you realize that most consoles now are 5 generations behind hardware on PCs? I mean, the graphics
This is
hardware.
the thing that I always hear from people, but then once again, like, yes, it is, but for the average person, the investment to get that looks
Agreed.
that much better is
It's not worth it.
super attainable.
Right.
Right,
know?
but the fact is, I happen to have one of those setups, and now that I've experienced that level of resolution and that level of clarity in the ray trace shadows and whatnot, and most importantly, it's the load times. That's what blows me away. I was literally confused the first time I watched a Skyrim video, and the thing kept spinning on a PS3 for like 40 seconds. I was like,
And that's
I don't
changed.
understand
That's
what's
changed
going on.
over the years because originally it was always like, oh, you're playing on the PC. What do you do about loading? But
Because you have to stick in your floppy disk
Yeah,
and
it
take
was-
8 years for it to
and
load up.
over time, that's like flip-flopped. And
Yeah.
now it's like, oh, you're on a console?
Yeah.
Oh, it looks so bad. It loads for so long. When, like, I remember, like, 10 years ago, it was flipped. It was
Well, and it's like in
flipped.
Skyrim, there would be things like I didn't even have enough time to read the factoid that's on there. It was flickering on
Yeah.
like some sword spins. I was like, hey, make sure to Lydia.
And you're like, what?
there.
Make sure Lydia what?
Exactly.
See,
Meanwhile, I'm like reading
I've
history of
I've got like all that shit memorized now. I know every piece of lore about Lydia.
I know, maybe I'm missing
I know
out on
so
all the
much.
lore because I don't.
Dude, I'm telling you, if you want lore, loading screens are your best source for lore.
We talked about Kingdoms of Amalur. What about that one? Is that even out on? Is that PC only or it had Xbox as well, right?
Yeah, Kingdoms of Amalur, I didn't play much.
I'm not
beyond
sure
what we
anyone
reviewed.
played that.
But the reason you didn't is because the gameplay mechanic was so similar to an established game like God of War, right? Whereas as a PC gamer, I never played God of War, so that was totally novel to me.
Well, it was
The parrying
it
and
was a
diving
weird
around.
melding of MMO interfaces and quest sort of management and stuff like that, and then like a one-to-one action sort of God of War thing. So that's another one where I feel like no matter what you're playing Amalur on, you maybe feel like the other side is getting a piece of the experience that you're not getting, right?
Right.
Like I feel like when you were playing Amalur, we were talking about those QuickTime events, and it's like, QuickTime event? I've got a mouse. Like I don't want that. And then I'm thinking about like all this quest scrolling and all this stuff, and I'm like, menus? I'm on a controller.
Right.
It's like peanut butter and chocolate, but not good.
It's peanut butter and shit.